I just finished this itty bitty Briar Halloween diorama, and I'll share the process and all of the materials you need to make your very own. It's super easy, and at the time of posting I have a few pre-made kits that can jumpstart your process. First, I started with a plastic cupcake stand. If you just search plastic cupcake display stand, maybe something with cover, you should find sets of these. Unfortunately, you can't buy singles, so be ready to have a lot on hand and maybe have a crafting or a cupcake party with friends. That's partially why I made the kits. Be sure you get the right size. I ended up with some that are too small for mini Winnies, but I did find the right ones on Amazon. I got a flat black spray paint from the hardware store and painted the stand to start. I also drilled a very tiny hole all the way through the stand for my light kit, which is optional, but really fun if you decide to get one. Next, I wanted a little styrofoam, which also isn't necessary, but I wanted to raise the ground up a little inside the base. First, I painted the styrofoam black with acrylic craft paint so no white would show through, but I don't think you have to do that. I also used black and white craft paint on styrofoam for my tiny gravestone. I made my diorama terrain with peat moss from the craft store and a low heat glue gun. I found some small twigs in my yard off a crabapple tree, and using the cloche as a guide, made a tiny tree by gluing even tinier sticks on as branches. I trimmed it with scissors and kept checking my height and width to be sure it would fit. Now I'm on to installing my light kit. Here I'm trimming small pieces of electrical tape to hold wires and the switch into place. I used an X-Acto knife to trim tiny notches in what I decided would be the back of the base. The switch is held on with a little tape along its bottom that reaches around to the inside of the base, and I held the wires inside their notches with more tape along the inside bottom edge. I fed the light up through the hole inside the base and slid a notch inside my styrofoam insert for the light to rest in and come out on top. Optional shrink tubing helped protect the connections and kept everything tidy. And once the kit was tucked up inside the bottom of the base and I checked that the light would still come on, I plugged up the bottom with some additional styrofoam cut to fit. Then I got to work on my mini Winnie. I chose this little unicorn because I love his shape. I took off his horn, shaved off his stamp, and cleaned up some rough edges with an X-Acto knife and a carbide scraper. Please be careful with sharp tools. While his white coat of spray paint primer was drying, I got back to work on the scene. I painted some cardstock with multiple coats of this glow-in-the-dark craft paint, and used a 1/2-inch hole punch to cut out a moon. I drew on some shading and moon craters lightly with a pencil. I placed 2 tiny Poot-Cut pods that look like little pumpkins, a bit of faux spiderweb from Halloween decor for fog on the ground and webs in the trees, and glued my moon to a tree branch. I made sure that the tiny light came up in the notch in my styrofoam to sit on top of the terrain. I did not glue the insert down just in case I needed to switch out my light. Here's my finished mini Winnie, which I painted with craft paints, and here is the completed diorama. I'll list all the items used at the end and put a link to my pre-made kits for you in the video description. Let me know if you decide to try making a mini diorama. Happy crafting and happy Halloween!